Hello, hello. So I've heard that some of you guys have gotten your packages for your clay, which is so exciting. Woohoo! So I'm just gonna do a little video just to kind of get you guys inspired and give you some ideas for modeling and molding your clay. So this is what your package should look like. Oop, upside down. Oop, there we go. So you got your model magic. The most important thing to know about this is it does air dry. So I really tried to emphasize like, hey, don't open until on 10:30, which is today. Or it says also clay will air dry. So I just really wanted to emphasize like, hey, like when you do open it, that is like the time to start molding. You do not have to do it today. The due date's pretty flexible. Um, I would say like try to have it done by Monday, which would be, let me check what day that is. But try to have it done Monday by 8 a.m. So that would be November 2nd. But if not, no worries. I know that this might take a little bit of time. So you want to section off like probably like an hour just to like work on this clay. I would imagine that you guys are probably really excited. I would hope that you're really excited to work on this clay. But just make sure you section off that hour so you can work on it, finish it, and then just leave it out to dry. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and open up our package. Woo-hoo-hoo. I feel like I'm in one of those like YouTube videos where they're like unpacking or like opening stuff and then they like give a rating. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but I feel like I'm in one of those right now. All right, here we go. So we've got our white clay. It's really soft, super fun, right? You can do a lot with this. For this assignment, you're gonna be doing a food item. It can be your favorite food or maybe just some type of food that you just wanna like create three-dimensionally. You can. So remember, three-dimensional means that you can actually like touch it, you can actually move it. It has a surface on all sides, right? Two-dimensional means it's only a flat surface, so it only has one side, and that's it. So like for example, this video is two-dimensional, correct? But this clay is three-dimensional, right? I can move it, I can twist it, I can see all sides, right? So that's what we're doing. We're making a three-dimensional, so your clay should have some kind of aspect from all sides. This should not be flat, right? So if I was making a pizza, I would not want to do a like take this clay, flatten it out, and draw in it because then that would be two-dimensional, right? We want to create a three-dimensional. So it's actually going to have a crust that we're going to make. And it's actually going to have maybe some pepperonis on there, or maybe even like create a little like cheese piece or something like that, right? So you want to make this three-dimensional. Another aspect that we want this to have is we want it to have positive and negative space. So the positive space is the focus, the focal point, basically. It takes up space, right? So I am positive space because I take up space in the universe, right? This is me. I'm a positive space. You are a positive space. So we are all positive people. Woo! But negative space is the empty space, maybe the gaps, the holes, whatever. So like everything, if you look at this video right now, if this was a photo, I would be the positive space from my head to my shoulders and maybe even my arms. But the negative space would be everything around me. So look, you can see the air, you can see the ceiling and the walls and the background. So the background is the negative space, right? If you're looking at maybe a landscape painting, you would see maybe some mountains and a sky. So the mountains would be the positive space, and then the sky would be the negative, right? So we're gonna make sure that we include positive and negative space. I'm gonna go ahead and start, say for example, with the pizza, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do is get my crust. You do not have to do this. You do not have to do pizza, all right? You can do whatever you want. I'm just throwing this example out here. All right, so I'm just gonna rip off a little bit, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of roll it up, start molding it. Since It's been sitting in this package. It's a little stiff. So I'm just gonna soften it up. I'm actually gonna grab some more. You wanna try to use as much of this clay as possible. If you want, you can use about half to make yours and then use the other half to just kind of freely create whatever you wanna create. But I would like you to try to use as much as you can, okay? Cool. All right, so now I'm just kind of softening it up, maybe rolling it into a ball. That's always the best place to start if you're not really sure. And then I'm just gonna kind of flatten it out a little bit. Things are shaking over here. All right, so I'm flattening it out a little bit. You can still see there's some thickness. So I want a nice thick crust. And now I'm just gonna flatten out these sides here too, to almost make like a triangle shape. So I'm literally just tapping it until I get it into an angle. All right, so I'm starting to get my point here. All right now it looks like candy corn. We don't want that, or maybe even a teardrop. So I'm gonna do the same thing and just flatten out this side. I'm literally just tapping it onto the table. This clay is really soft, it's safe. I mean, you can always, like I'm literally just making my project on my desk. If you are worried about getting the table messy, you can lay down some wax paper so that way you're not getting it too messy or damaging any of your mom or dad or grandma's furniture. So make sure you get approval on that. But for the most part, it's not like sticky. It's not going to leave any kind of residue really. So it's pretty safe and very easy to work with. All right, so I've kind of got my little triangle going here. Check it out. Boop, 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 boop. Yo. And I literally just like hit the table like this. Boop, and then just kept patting it very, very lightly. I was also trying to be really careful with holding it, you know, so I don't squish it with my fingers while I was holding. So there is my little pizza. He's not perfect, but you know, no pizza's perfect, right? So, and actually he's kind of thick in the crust at the end right there, which I really like. There you go, you can see some dention. Also notice that, again, there's that three-dimensional aspect. He's not perfectly flat. He's got some width here. He's got a height, length, and width. Look at that, we're using math in art. Whoa. All right, so I'm actually gonna create my sauce too. This will be pretty easy. I'm just gonna flatten it out. And let's see. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen so you can see exactly what I'm doing. All right, so here we are. All right, so I have, this is like my little flat piece of sauce because sauce is pretty thin. So that is why I'm doing a pretty thin piece of clay here. I'm actually gonna take a plastic knife and I'm just gonna cut around the edges. Let's see if this works. I have not tried this yet, so. Right, here we go. Maybe like make it a little wavy sauce. There we go. Not as wavy. Maybe I should have used a spoon. You can always use a spoon, plastic fork, a toothpick. Honestly, whatever you can find to start creating. Boop. All right, let's see how that works. Pretty good. There we go, so you guys can see it. So I'm leaving room for that crust. I'm honestly trying to make this as realistic as possible. So I challenge you guys to do the same. Try to make this as realistic as possible. I'm just taking the corners of this and just pulling it and stretching it, doing whatever. The modeling clay sticks really, really easily to itself. So when you lay it down, make sure that you're really committing to that. So I like laid that sauce down onto the pizza crust. Let me see if I can get this to make it a little easier to see. There we go. So I laid that sauce down on that pizza crust and it was like, boom, it stuck right there. So just be careful with that. Make sure that you are committing to your work. All right, so there's my sauce. Woohoo! He looks a little funky, but it's okay. It's just because he doesn't have everything else on him. You know, sauce always looks messy on the crust at first. But now I'm gonna create some pepperoni. So all I'm doing with that, if you think about pepperoni, I think the best thing to do is roll it into a ball. There it is, and then just flatten it out a little bit. This pepperoni's flat, right? So I'm literally just creating exactly what pepperoni would look like. And then I'm just placing it right on it. Right, roll into a ball. I don't want to make them too big, right? And then just flatten it out a little bit. Pizza's a pretty flat thing, you know? All right, I'm gonna do one more. There we go. Oops, forgot to flatten this guy. There. And then if I wanted to, I can add some cheese as well. So how that would work is I would pretty much just take a little piece, rip it off, and then roll it up like cheese, right? Like little strands. Might even rip this a little bit smaller and just place it on there randomly. Boop. There's some cheese. I could keep adding some more. All right, so I have completed my pizza. There it is. Look at that. Now zoom in. There's some cheese. You can see the little cheese things. There's the sauce. It's even rolling off of the crust and dripping down. Got that pepperoni. Look at that texture, that 3 dimension right there. You can literally see the layering of the toppings and that nice thick crust right there. But you know what? It's missing something. Do you guys know what it is? Negative space. Yep, if you didn't get it, now you know. We are missing negative space. So all we have right now is positive space. The easiest way, and I think the simplest way to get positive space is I'm actually gonna make this into a keychain now. So I'm gonna share my screen again and we can get rolling. All right, so here is my pizza. All right, here's my clay. I put it back in the package to make sure that it stays moist. You're always welcome to do that. That's a great idea. If there's any clay that you're not using, put it back in the package so that way you can make sure that it stays nice and moist, right? All right, so I'm gonna just make a little roll right here. You can always just like start off in a ball again, right? And then just roll side to side to create it thinner, almost like a little snake. You wanna make sure this is really thick so it's protected. And let's see, maybe I'll do it at the corner here. Yeah, that looks good. Put it at the corner. There, and we'll just push down on it. Boom. And then you can even smooth it down on the side so it really sticks nice and good. There it is. Boom. Now I've got my negative space. See this little empty space right here? Negative space. Another really easy way that you can create negative space is if you're working, for example, with a pizza pepperoni, you can always make holes for the pepperoni pieces. So what I would do is where those pepperonis are, instead of actually making them, instead I would just create holes within that would go. So that's another really easy to create that negative space. So make sure you're including positive and negative. Positive is pretty easy, right? But then make sure you're including that negative. So here is our three-dimensional food piece with positive and negative space. I'm gonna do another quick example of a food that you can do. I know like a lot of you guys may like, I'm just trying to think of examples of things that you guys would like. Maybe just some food. Yeah, just things that you guys would like in general. Sorry, I kind of had a little brain fart there for a second. But some of those things, if I was your age, probably be like mac and cheese. My favorite food right now is pad thai. Just things like that. So I think like those are consisting of a lot of little pieces. Like you think of mac and cheese, it's like, oh, it's pasta. So it's like a bunch of like little like macaroni noodles. You can also think about with pad thai, right? It's a bunch of like, what are they? Rice noodles, right? So what you can do to hold the pasta or the pad thai noodles or whatever it may be is create a bowl, right? So I'm gonna create a bowl by first rolling this into a ball, and then I'm gonna create what's called a pinch pot. So I'm gonna stick my thumb down inside. You can also kind of hold this in the palm of your hand. So then that way when you push down, this still stays fairly flat, or fairly rounded, sorry. And then now I'm gonna stick my thumb back in there and just kind of rotate around it. It's a lot easier to do a pinch pot when you have more clay. So right now I only used a little bit of mine so I can demonstrate multiple different types. But I definitely recommend using lots of clay to create this bowl, and make sure that the rim right here is nice and thick. Also, the bottom should be nice and thick and sturdy as well. So there you go, there's my three-dimensional bowl. And then whenever I create, say, my mac and cheese, I can just grab a little piece of clay, again, roll into a ball, and then I'm gonna kind of do like a little snake looking thing. And then I'm just gonna curve it into like a U. And boom, there is my little mac and cheese noodle. Ta-da! And then I'm literally just gonna make a bunch of those and layer it in there. If you don't wanna just make a ton of those, you can kind of do like a little cheat, is what I call it. Let's see if I can take this guy out of here. He's really stuck in there. See, he stuck right to that clay. Yes, this clay is very sticky. So, but another little trick to like fill the bowl up quicker is I'm literally just gonna take like a ball again, and then I'm just gonna plop it at the bottom and push down. And then I just filled up part of that bowl with clay. I might even stick a little bit more in there. This one's a little bit flatter. And I'm just gonna stick it in there. And then now I'm gonna take my little mac and cheese noodle And then I'm gonna layer them on top to where it's completely covered. Here's my other mac and cheese noodle. Kind of look like little wontons. Could also be wonton soup. Who knows? This is room for creativity right there. And then as you can see, I'll even get it a little closer to the camera. Let's see if we can focus. There we go. Now we're looking good. So as you can see, as I'm putting those noodles in, it's covering up this like underneath space. So I'm literally just doing like one layer on top. So then that way I don't have to completely fill the bowl. If you want, you can completely fill the bowl with these like little noodles. But that's just like a quicker way if you're not wanting to do that much work if you're like me. So another thing is if I wanted to do like thin noodles, again, you just roll it out like a little snake and then just keep rolling until you get really thin pieces like this, and then just kind of bunch it up. There's some of my noodles, and then you can just boop, stick it in the bowl. You can always put some sauce on top. So like say for mac and cheese, you wanted some sauce, you can flatten this out, right? Because sauce is really thin. And then just kind of create this like almost cheesy overlay. And then you can just lay it on top. Yeah, but you are welcome. If you mess up, you can always like just take something off. Say I created a little croissant. Here's my croissant. Say I created a little croissant, but I didn't really like how it looked. You can always just boop, pop it back in there, squish it all back together, and then start over. So I think those are the main things. Let me stop share. You can always go on YouTube and look up like how to make a croissant out of clay. You can always go on YouTube and look up things like that, or just like on the internet, how to make blah, blah, blah out of clay. And there are so many different ways you can do that. I'm really excited to see what you guys are going to create. Make sure that you do a positive and negative space, and also make sure that it is three-dimensional. See that it has texture, that it has layers, that it has height, length, and width, right? This is not flat. This is not a computer screen or a piece of paper. This is something that actually has texture, height, width, and length. So that is all. Hope you guys have a wonderful time. Take a photo. Feel free to send it to Miss Telang, and then she can send it over to me, or you can have one of your parents take a photo on their phone and then email it or send a text, whatever works best for you guys. One last thing, this is just for fun. This is totally optional. You do not have to do this, but I just wanted to tell you guys that once this dries, so leave it out for 24 hours to dry. Once it dries, you can paint or color it. So if you want to add some color, because I know it's white, but if you want to add some color, you can paint or color it, which is really awesome. Make sure that it's dry first. So wait 24 hours. So if you started today at 12 o'clock, then you got to wait until tomorrow by 12 o'clock, right? But you can paint or color this, which is so, so awesome. So that's just like an extra little fun thing for you guys to explore, do, create this weekend or next weekend, whenever you just have some spare time, totally optional. But I do want to see you guys at least create a food sculpture. So that is the most important thing. The optional piece is painting or coloring. So yeah, I hope you guys had as much fun at this as I did. It was so great, and it's just really awesome and just honestly like very meditative to work with some clay and have some three-dimensional hands-on art learning. All right, you guys have my email if you have any questions, and happy Halloween.